Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to Clues. By Sam, we have a medium one today. It's almost Wednesday and it's almost the New Year's. And if you don't know what Clues by Sam is, it's a daily puzzle game that we play daily here on the channel. We have 20 people. They may be criminals or innocents, and each of them gives you a clue to help you figure out who is what. And if you want to try it out, there is a link in the description to take you to it. So let's start. Henry tells us that exactly one innocent in between Deborah and Xavier is neighboring Ivan. So, Ivan has one innocent neighbor here. Is that person between Deborah and Xavier? Yes, they are. So, the second person who is between Deborah and Xavier and that neighbor's Ivan couldn't be an innocent. I guess we don't need a clue anymore. Now Mark tells us there is only one innocent to the right of Flora. That innocent is Henry, so we know that both Gabe and Ivan are criminals. And now Ivan tells us that exactly one of the two guards is an innocent directly above them. Where are the guards? Well, Mark is a guard and they have an innocent above them. So, where's the other guard? Vance. Vance couldn't have an innocent above them, so Peter has to be a criminal. And now Peter tells us that both innocents above Xavier are connected. Well, one of those innocents is Henry, and the other person who is also an innocent has to be connected to Henry. That can only be Deborah. And also the clue tells us there's two innocents only above Xavier, so we know that Tina couldn't be one. Now, Tina tells us that row 1 is the only row with exactly 2 criminals. So we know that row 2 couldn't have 2 only if Flora were to be an innocent, which means that Flora is not an innocent. And I guess we know there has to be at least one more criminal in row 4, but maybe 2 of them are criminals as well. Now Flora tells us that each column has at least 3 criminals. So we know that column C has to have one more criminal, and that can only be Xavier. Xavier now tells us that all criminals in column D are connected. So we know that since each column has to have at least 3 criminals, there has to be 2 more criminals here in column D. That's either gonna be, in order for them to be connected to Ivan, they have to either be Nicole and Uma, or Nicole and Emma. And we don't know if Emma and Zara are for sure criminals, as we don't know about Uma, but Nicole for sure has to be one of them. Now Nicole tells us that only one of the 2 innocents neighboring Xavier is in row 5. Xavier has 2 innocents total among these 4 people, but only one of them is in row 5 neighboring him, which means that these guys are one or the other, and that Sarah and Uma are one or the other as well. So how do we figure this out? We gotta look back at all criminals in column D are connected, right? Because if Zara were to be a criminal, they would have to be connected via Uma to the other criminals here in column D. But we don't know if Zara is an innocent or a criminal. If Zara is an innocent, Uma would have to be an innocent. Now, Uma could be a criminal because she would be connected to these 2. And that will make it 3 in the column. So what we know for sure is that could Uma be an innocent? I guess they could. If Zara were an innocent as well. I guess what we know is that since row 1 is the only row with exactly 2 criminals, and row 5 is gonna have 2 criminals now because Xavier is one of them, the other one is either gonna be Will and Zara, or Zara. There has to be a 3rd criminal in row 5. It has to be Vance. And row 4 already has 3. Jerry and Luigi, among them, there has to be at least one more criminal, but we don't know who yet. Vance tells us that Emma and Tina have an equal number of innocent neighbors. Emma and Tina. Emma has 2 innocent neighbors. Tina is gonna have 2 as well that she shares with Xavier. So the last person that neighbors her, who is Luigi, couldn't be an innocent as well, which means that Luigi is a criminal. Like I said before, there had to be at least 1 more criminal in row 3. Guess we don't need Vince's clue anymore. Now Luigi tells us that an odd number of innocents on the edges neighbor Tina. So we know that Tina is gonna have 1 innocent on the edge here for sure in row 5. There's no way to escape that. And if Uma, who is also on the edge neighboring Tina, were to be an innocent, that will make 2 innocents neighboring Tina on the edges, and that's an even number. So we know that Uma couldn't be an innocent. Uma now tells us that row 3 has more criminals than any other row. Row 3. Well, row 2 already has 3 criminals, which means that row... Did I say row 2? Row 2 already has 3 criminals, and there's no way for it to have less than that or more. But there is a way for row 3 to have more than row 2, and that's by Jerry being a criminal as well. And now Jerry tells us that there are more criminal coders than criminal guards. Well, there's 2 criminal coders so far. What about the guards? There's 2 criminal guards as well, so that makes it so that Emma, who is the 3rd coder, has to be a criminal as well. Emma is just accusing Will, and she has to be right, so Will is for sure a criminal, and that makes Sarah an innocent. And we forgot that Uma makes Sarah an innocent as well. We don't need Emma's clue anymore. Now Will tells us that only 1 column has exactly 2 innocents, and that column is column C, because there's no way for there to be any more innocents in column C. It has 2 total. Well, that means that column B couldn't have 2 as well, so Betty has to be a criminal. And that makes it so that Alice is an innocent because row 1 has 2 criminals. And now we are done. That was a medium one in less than 7 minutes, and this is gonna be it for today. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you did play it, and I'll be here again tomorrow playing more Clues by Sam for the last one of the year. See you tomorrow.